Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's Daily Global Show on Scroll.in and Scroll Global. Today is the second of our Indiaspora community conversations with one of the leading Indian American organizations in Diaspora. We'll be joined in a minute by co-host and founder of Indiaspora, M.R. Rangaswamy. Today, we have a fantastic show, Diaspora Women Redefining Digital. And we have four awesome women who are going to be with us: Somdutta Singh, Seema Chaturvedi, Chaitra Vedullapalli, and Sushma Sharma. You're going to hear from them. You can take their questions you can ask them questions, and we're going to learn a lot together. So please stand by as we bring on MR to talk to us. Right now, we're live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Please share with your friends and family right now. You can tag them, and they can watch later if they can't join us at this moment. And we're now ready to bring on MR in just 1 minute. Hi, everybody. Let me bring on to you my friend and founder of Indiaspora, M.R. Rangaswamy. There are a lot of people who do a lot of talking about community and about the importance of working together, but very few people get things done. And the man you're about to meet gets a lot done. We're so excited about our partnership with Indiaspora and grateful to MR for being here with us and his team for helping organize this. So please say hello to MR Rangaswamy. Hi, MR.
Hey, Sree, how are you, man?
Great to see you. Great to have you back on the show. Great to spend this time with you. You've put on quite a show for tonight.
Well, thank you. I mean, the last time we were on, it was about Indian matchmaking. And this time we're on, it's about women in the cloud. So very different talk today as well, Sree.
So let's get right to it. Well, I'm going to have you introduce each of our speakers. We're going to bring them on one at a time, and then we'll get going.
Great. So let's see Seema now. Seema Chaturvedi.
Hi, Seema.
Hey, Seema.
Hi, MR. How are you?
Hey, Seema. Again, for those of you joining in, Seema Chaturvedi has 20 years of capital markets and financial management experience. She's an entrepreneur, investor, and investment banker. And welcome, Seema. Welcome to our show.
You. Thanks, MR. Great to be here.
So good. Whereabouts are you today?
Well, at this very minute, I'm in Miami. Somebody has to lead the tough life. So.
All right. Good to see you. And next up, we have Sushma Sharma.
Hey, Yamar. Hey, Seema. Hey, Sree.
Hey, great to see you, Sushma. And Sushma is the founder and CEO of Konversai. Is a mission to democratize knowledge and make the world a better place. Her company is a live video-based knowledge sharing platform. Hey, Sushma, where are you today?
I'm actually in New York.
New York. Okay. All right. We got Miami. We got New York. Let's see where Som Singh is from. Hello, Som. I said for you, I should give it away by saying good morning.
Yes.
So, Som is the former vice chairperson of NASSCOM Product Council, and she's also on the core committee of Women Entrepreneurship Platform from Niti Aayog, and you must have guessed it by now. She's a serial Indian entrepreneur, mentor, and angel investor who's coming to us from
Bangalore. So namaste and hello to you, MR.
And good morning. And then last but not least, we have Chaitra Vedullapalli. Chaitra.
Hello, MR. How are you? Hi, Sushma.
Hi.
Good to see you. Chaitra is an influential business leader with a passion around digital equity and women's equity. She's co-founder and CMO of Mela, which is a tech company up in the Pacific Northwest. And she's also co-founded Women in the Cloud, and we'll be hearing more about that pretty soon. So you should guess where Chaitra is from. Chaitra, you're from?
I'm dialing in from Seattle.
Seattle. Okay. All right. We got
a city.
Great. We got both the coasts. We've got India as well. And this is a great show. So we're going to talk about everything to do with empowering women and empowering the digital cloud and so on and so forth. So I first want to get started by talking about investments. So nothing gets started without money. So I want to bring up our money person here. I would normally say there was someone called Money Honey, right? I think he's still on Fox Business News or something, but we have Seema here. So Seema, talk to us a little bit about accessibility to capital for women, what this means, what does gender diversity mean, what's your take on this, and how are you helping?
Well, Emma, thanks for bringing this up, and thanks for giving us a chance to share what I took for granted, having spent 20 plus years in raising capital. I have to admit I had my blinders on, and I was very surprised through a program that I led and founded that I was sensitized to the fact that access to equity capital, especially at the venture stage for women businesses, is beyond dismal. It's not just dismal, it's pathetically dismal. And it's less than 3% of venture funding goes to women businesses in a country like United States. So you can only imagine how dismal it is in some other parts of the world. And it is shocking that smart money people who make a career out of investing are leaving so much money on the table because empirical evidence has suggested, and our investing experience has suggested, that you can, from a gender diverse team, an investor can actually get an incremental return of anywhere from 25 to 35% over and above what they would get from a non-gender diverse team. So it puzzles me that smart people leave so much money on the table, and for what? For lack of intentionality and for lack of sensitivity. So it is dismal, but the waves, it's a rising tide now. There is greater awareness. More and more people, I think in some manner, the Me Too movement catalyzed it. But in the past 2 years, I've seen a sea change. And gender lens investing, as we call it, has taken on more of a center.
Great. Thank you. And we'll get to more into your fund structure and what you're doing with your funds and opportunities for women. But I want to jump into a little bit on the entrepreneurship side. And so, Sushma, you are a woman entrepreneur who has successfully started Konversai. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges, how you got started, and some of the hurdles you faced before you actually got capital and so forth?
Absolutely, Amar. I would love to. It hasn't, I mean, as you know, for most women here, it hasn't been an easy journey. It's been a pretty tough one, and not without challenges. So anybody who's looking to start, I would say be prepared. It's hard. First thing, obviously, was that you have to prove your idea a little bit more than most people, or basically non-women. So that's the first thing. The second thing is people are very quick when you're asking for money or help. They're very quick to give advice, which is the easiest to give. Third, I found that finding a mentor is pretty hard. I don't come from a business background. I'm a lawyer by profession. So for me to get into the tech industry was another hurdle. But I have to say that despite all the negatives, the Valley in itself was a place where you can find people who would support you. So that was pretty amazing. If I had been in New York then, I probably would have had it much harder to start something. Valley, on the other hand, is much more welcoming to starting something new, trying, failing, trying again. So those were good things. It took me a while to find the right people to start the team itself, and didn't find any funding in the beginning because I didn't even want to go and ask for money when it was basically what the dream concept. But only when I started working on it and had some form of a site ready did I start talking to friends and families and angel investors. And I would say of the probably 40 people I spoke to and presented to, I would say 7 of them were convinced. But there was a group also, so probably like 11 or 12 people who were convinced and who wanted to fund it. So it takes, you have to go and do the pitches to a lot of people. Each one is heartbreaking when it doesn't work, But I kind of got sensitized to that after a while. I was like, it's okay, it's fine. I'll give it 30 minutes to be upset and then I'll be fine. So you have to come up with these tools, and it worked for me. But that's how I raised the first round.
Great. Thank you. And now let's go to Bangalore and Som, because Som is not just an investor, an entrepreneur, and a mentor, but Som, talk to us about your journey being Indian and in India. How did you start a company, and where are you today?
So, Emma, that's a very important question you ask, because my education was in US, and then I came to India because I wanted to do something in my country. And just like Sushma, New York is my second home. I came here in Jan and I couldn't go back. So, when she was talking about the whole, people leaving, I can relate to that. My journey was very unique, MR, because I come from a family of doctors, and in an Indian family, you're pretty much expected to follow that legacy. And I was always a rebel with a cause. So I left home when I was 16 to pursue my education in Bangalore. And that's how I came to Bangalore. I'm originally from Kolkata. And that's how my journey started. But it was very, very tough initially, especially because my parents pretty much raised their hands and said that if you do not want to pursue medicine, you're on your own. And my stint with entrepreneurship started when I was 16, because I was hustling. I used to make chocolates at my dormitory and sell it at my college. I used to do ghostwriting for people to earn my money because I had to survive. So I had to somehow work on survival. So when I went to finish my education, the expectation was that I'm going to, after my PhD, get a great job, have a great career. And I did. I did work for Red Hat for a while, and it was fantastic, but I quickly got bored. And I started my first company, which is now acquired, Unspun. The fundraising part that Sushma's talking about, I can completely relate to it. It was very, very hard. Indeed, I put all my jewelry, and I remember, all my savings that I had. I sold my Red Hat shares that I had, and that's how I started my company. I invested that money to start my first company. And only when I had a few customers and I went out, and Bloom Ventures, I think they're a phenomenal, VC. I think they're very supportive towards young and aspiring entrepreneurs. They invested in us, and that's how we kind of scale and grew to where we were before we sold off. But when I started Assiduus, which is my e-commerce company, one of the things I quickly realized is that the moment you have a direct to consumer focus, I think you automatically, that's where your funding comes from. Indeed, for Assiduus, we didn't have to raise any money or go to investors. They came to us because they saw us booming at such a large scale. Like, we are in health supplements, we are in beauty, we are in fashion, and we have our own private label brands. And then we are helping a lot of large brands go online. So I think the experience has been, like I say, every adversity has been an opportunity, MR. But today, look at where we are. And I think the successes that are there in women are so exemplary. Like, the number of women who are coming out, doing their, building their companies and being successful, the examples are multitude. But yes, entrepreneurship is about risk. It's high risk and high reward, but you need to keep at it. And that's what is very, very important. And I think funding is pretty much one side of it. So what is very, very important is to have great products, great go-to-market, have customers who are involved with you in the very beginning when you're developing a great platform or a product, because they become your champions. And that's been my learning. My customers have been my champions. They've been our voice. They've been our brand ambassadors. And that's why we've been able to scale the company to where we were able to sell it off. And Assiduus today is over 100 million in valuation. And the pandemic has been a boon to us because people are more e-commerce friendly now. They've moved most of their businesses to e-commerce. And we've seen close to a 35% growth in just the last 6 months. So that itself shows that, adversity can sometimes be an opportunity, MR.
Great. Thank you. And so I know, Chaitra, you have a whole support network in mind for entrepreneurs and stuff. Can you talk about some of the stories that you're seeing in terms of women entrepreneurs and how a network can enable them to be more successful and giving them both mentorship and investment capital?
Absolutely. First, MR, thank you for having me here. And also, Sree, thank you for having me. Let me just kind of give a context around how even Women in Cloud kind of came into existence. I've been always, I started my career in corporate, and then from there, doing a lot of the pricing and the licensing and going into the channel. And then I saw a lot of the tech companies thriving because they were able to really win larger deals and also really go from a startup into a very established company. So when I left the corporate world, I wanted to build my own because I think I have an entrepreneur seed in me. So as I was going through that journey, what I saw was there was a lot of hurdles as a woman entrepreneur to even build a business in the enterprise market. And during this was like 4 years ago when I left the corporate world. It was estimated by IDC that it was a $4.5 trillion opportunity by 2025 in the cloud, technologies, AI, and quantum computing. All these things are going to really change the game, and the enterprise market is going to be the adoption of this technology. But when you started to slice and dice that data, what we started to find out is less than 1% of the women entrepreneurs are actually having access to network, sponsors, education, and funding to really build an enterprise-ready solution. So that was kind of the precipice of kind of working with a few of my friends and say, what if we can create $1 billion in economic access for women tech entrepreneurs building the cloud solutions for the enterprise market? That's how the Women in Cloud came together. So we are a community-led, and it's an economic development organization with a massive mission that we have taken with the UN to really create that $1 billion in economic access and opportunity by 2030. So one of the data I want everybody to remember is, according to the BCG article, it says that when men and women are given equal opportunity to entrepreneurship, our global GDP could be increased from $2 to $500 billion to $4.5 trillion. So that's a significant growth we can create, and we can still create prosperity by having women entrepreneurs. So as we worked on Women in Cloud, we said we want to build as a community, which is a business development community, which allows everybody to start creating access to enterprise opportunities and also economic opportunities for others in the community. Second, we partnered with Microsoft and made sure that we created a cloud accelerator, which was immersive programming for 6 months. So all these entrepreneurs could get the support around network, sponsors, education, cloud credits to really build their enterprise solution. And third one, like doing public policy work and ensuring that we are working with the government to ensure we can unlock biases to and remove all the barriers and unlock the procurement vehicles. So it's been really spectacular. We now have a collective community and collective action with 100 million women across the world right now, Amar.
Congratulations. That sounds so awesome. Folks, if you're just joining us, you're in a conversation with 4 women leaders who are changing the world of digital. And my name is Sree Sreenivasan. That's M.R. Rangaswamy. He's a co-founder of Indiaspora. And every month we bring together a fabulous conversation about the world of the Indian diaspora. And that's Indiaspora. M.R., how are you feeling? How is it going so far? M.R., you're muted, M.R.
It's a great start. We'd love to get some questions from all the different viewers.
Sure. So let me just tell everybody who's watching. Bijal says tuning in and supporting the ladies. Jonathan's watching from the East Village. Renee Edelman herself, an amazing leader at Edelman, is here with us, and she's watching. Pradnya says hi, MR, and Raihani is watching. Very good luck. Vikram says, good to be here. Indiaspora is pointing out that Seema Chaturvedi, the founder and managing partner of AWE Funds, a platform for investing early stage capital, women-owned, led, and influenced businesses, is one of our guests. They're pointing out all our different speakers. Sushma is the founder of Konversai, a live video-based knowledge-sharing platform that connects seekers and providers of knowledge and enables one-on-one interactions. Pradnya is watching from Silver Spring, Maryland. And Indiaspora is tweeting that Dr. Somdutta is the founder of a $150 million revenue generating e-commerce and brand management company. And Chaitra is the co-founder and president of Women in Cloud, as you just heard. And we're seeing Pradnya saying women empowering women, and Pradnya's tagging people. Everybody do this, please. Tag your friends right now so that they can join us and they can watch us. Charles says, hello from North Caldwell, New Jersey. And again, people are just tagging each other. Let's see. Apollo's watching from Vegas. He was a guest on our Las Vegas show. Las Vegas is a place where a lot of major events would take place in the different industries. How is the COVID situation, without being able to do trade shows, affecting your businesses? Does anybody want to go first on that?
Well, from a standpoint of investing, I'll tell you that it's been interesting because we're actively, everybody initially. So I'm not going to talk so much about trade shows, Sree, if that's okay with you. I'll speak about investing. And it's interesting that we had an initial period where all investors were almost like in a state of shock and trying to grapple with trying to get some visibility. And, investors usually prefer some stability or some definite visibility in what's happening. It was interesting to see how quickly then everybody pivoted and said, we got to take care of our portfolio first. And that was interesting. After a bit, we are now actually actively looking for deal flow. And this crisis, everybody, the old saying, let a crisis, good crisis go to waste. We are actually finding some incredible investment opportunities. And just last week, we issued yet another term sheet. So it is a function of which sectors are more relevant and can sustain. But there is activity happening. I think people are getting used to the fact that this is not going anywhere anytime soon. So being the Jugaadi Indians that we all are, and for that matter, a lot of other people as well, the investing community is figuring out a way to get their money to work.
Great. One follow-up question I have is for Sushma. What has COVID done to your business and your business model? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. When COVID happened, obviously everybody was distraught, and we were like, okay, this is actually what we have been talking about since I started this company. We need to have a platform which is purely online and can have conversations, share knowledge. So for once, I did not have to prove my business case to anyone. But we were just in conversations with VCs before that, and it completely stopped. But from a user perspective, we saw such a huge inflow of people joining. We have increased, and our users have gone above 250,000 now. But there is a catch in that. We have a lot of users, and a lot from US, a lot from India, and they all want to share their knowledge for money. They all want to actually make money. But the number of people who want to spend money has actually gone down. So we have one side of our marketplace very, I would say, well flourished right now. But the other side is pretty slow. So now we're actually slowing down to let's figure out long term, because this is not going anywhere. So long term, how can we now take it to the next level? So Konversai 2.0, how are we going to go to the next level? Increase engagement, figure out more credibility of users and stuff. But I have to say, from business point of view, the number of users has radically gone up.
Great. And so I know you're doing e-commerce and have seen a step up in revenues and such, but how are you dealing with your suppliers, your customers, all of them being safe and being able to receive and send packages and the whole logistics and stuff? What's going on?
So I think you ask a very important question, because MR, in the beginning, when the pandemic hit, as you know, it was all shut down, right? The Amazon business in US took a big hit. So in India almost went into a complete lockdown, which meant that, especially if you've heard all over the news, that the migrant workers, who are the backbone of the supply chain all went back to their specific homelands, and therefore there was a huge shortage of people. Indeed, I say this like, with like a lot of people don't expect, but it was the Indian Post Office that was to the rescue for all the e-commerce businesses, because they were the only people who were operational. We literally had to have people like, indeed, I was like, driving, taking my driver, a few other people, because a lot of our team had gone back home because everybody wanted to be with their family during the pandemic, because nobody, and most of the people in Bangalore especially are from outside. So we saw a huge hit initially, especially the March-April timeframe, because logistics was deeply affected, supply chain was deeply affected, all the manufacturing units were shut down. So that was a big challenge again. For our US business, all the manufacturing happens in US, so that we didn't see too much of a shift because US really didn't shut down at all. However, India saw a pretty large challenge, and a lot of manufacturers, MR, were quickly shifting their, their floors for the production of PPEs and N95s, because the shortage of the production was so low, and with the geopolitical challenge with India, China, things were so tense. And indeed, we diversified too. We came up with our own. Indeed, I was the first woman to launch the own, the COVID business in India, with preparing our own certified N95s, our with New York certification, our PPE. But in terms of e-commerce, things only started getting better post-May. Till then, there was a huge dip in the business. Most of the platforms were not taking any orders except for only essentials. But we got lucky with the health supplements line because it fell under the essentials category. They were still doing the fulfillment, but fashion, beauty, any other category, which is home and kitchen, took a huge hit because everything was shut down until May. And if you ask me, India is still recuperating. Business is not back to usual, like the amount of sales that you would make ideally in this time frame. And Amazon just had their Prime Day. It was not as much because still there are challenges with logistics and stuff like that. But yes, there was a hit. But the good thing that happened was that we were quickly able to recover from that. And because we diversified, we started the COVID business, which was a part of the essentials according to Government of India guidelines. We were quickly able to scale it up. And within about last 5 months, we've done close to $2 million of business with not just e-commerce. We've also supplied to government. We've supplied to hospitals. And we've been doing a lot of charity work because India had a huge shortage of these supplies. But yeah, e-commerce saw the dip, Mark. Now things are back. Things are back and they're absolutely in a boom, especially in US.
Thank you. Look at all these great comments coming in. People are also tagging their friends. Pragati says, thanks for organizing this, MR. Anita is watching from Chennai. Vineet says, super inspiring stories across the board. Folks, tag your friends right now. Share this with your friends and family. Aparna says, yes for all the term sheets. Which is great. And look at these folks who are tagging friends. Raj says, good insights from seasoned entrepreneurs. Kudos from Canada. And Anita says, terrific to listen to such inspiring women. Go girls, she says. Simran's watching from Lucknow, India, and so many other folks are tuning in. Please ask a question. We've got about half an hour left with these amazing leaders. So MR, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Sree. Keep it coming, guys. And to Chaitra, the question is, COVID happened. So how does your network work today? With meeting by Zoom versus meeting for coffee. What are all the challenges with getting your women the cloud network during these times?
So MR, COVID was, I would say, enlightening experience for our community. Because first of all, we are all digital strategists and responders. So when we had our big summit in January, we had 1,300 women and men who came together to celebrate. And then we went with a very strong narrative of what we want to accomplish this year. And as we hit Feb, everything started to dismantle because all our experiences required in-person activations. So one of the things was to really think about going online because we were comfortable with using online technologies. So we actually had announced the online community that we actually implemented using Mighty Network. And what it did was it opened up the community to come together, and that became the hub for us, and we were engaging in the conversation. So when the COVID hit, most of our community started coming into the online network, and we started engaging and create that intimate space for working together. Then we also worked with Senator Patty Kudra to find out is how do we really have a voice at the table, especially when the legislative policies are made during recovery. She said, why don't you do is a COVID impact survey? And when we did the impact survey, what we realized is we are going to see a significant loss for women, especially anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million per company just this year. And over the next 3 years, will be up to $5 million per company, especially if you're working in the enterprise market. And the reason was for really looking into, because you can't travel, you can't meet, you cannot have a discussion. To mitigate that, we actually worked with Microsoft and their channel partners to host called as Cloud Exec Connect, which we did it in parallel with the Microsoft Inspire event to bring all the decision maker, the procurement officer, and influencers to meet with the entrepreneurs. And that opened up a huge connections for each other. So in spite of all the things, the technologies exist right now, and we just have to think digital transformation of everything that you look at and focus on three things. One is making sure your solutions are available in the marketplace where the customers are going and purchasing and reviewing and connecting. Second is be part of a community. You need to have a community. Alone, you cannot do. So even in an online community, be part of the conversation, be on the happy hours, just be connected. And third one is customer acquisition. Start changing the way from just selling to really serving the customer. So by shifting all that changes, MR, we are seeing that our community is actually thriving. Now, every event which used to get 30 to 50 people, we have crossed like 100 to 200 people across the globe, because now COVID has made community accessible across the globe, and everybody is comfortable coming onto Zoom or coming onto Teams or coming onto Vimeo, makes it much more easier. So that kind of the transformation was spectacular. So I would say is we saw the real digital transformation happen.
Great. Thank you, Chaitra. So going back to funding, I think everything seems to start with funding. So I know, Seema, you said you're seeing more deal flow. So what is the process? How do you meet with a new entrepreneur today versus pre-COVID? What is the process that you're taking now?
So it's interesting, MR, how this has helped me realize that I used to travel. I used to be on a flight almost every week. And it's made me realize that a lot of those miles could have been saved. What we started doing is using our resources, obviously cautiously. Our team is getting a lot more productive. Yes, we're using a lot of Zoom-like tools to meet people. But in the end, when it comes to due diligence, we are trying to be smart about using our resources. And I'll take an example of an ag tech company that we are looking to invest in, and we've just launched our due diligence. So my team could not travel from Mumbai, and I'm stuck. I'm here in US. I was supposed to be in India. I can't make it there. So we have tapped into local resources to do the due diligence and tap into our network. And I want to emphasize a point that Chaitra made. This has highlighted a few things for us, and we are sharing that with the companies as well. Irrespective of which industry you belong to, you have to focus on digital transformation. I mean, it has significantly increased the urgency of getting on with the imperative of digital transformation. Second, on the funding side, we are telling people ultimately it's great that you have investors. Try to look at, if you are looking at your own business, take a critical look. Nobody can predict really the recovery. We are seeing some recovery, but try to be mindful and cut costs to the extent you can. See if you can't pivot your business model, you should be comfortable with at least about 14 to 16 to 18 months of cash to be conservative to ride this out. And our portfolio companies have become very astute about it in terms of cutting costs and trying to optimize their cost structures. So my advice to companies is definitely go digital. Find ways to get revenue. Ultimately, as they say, profit is the best source of capital, and you want to have that accessible to you. But conserve cash. Cash is queen.
That's great to hear that. Sorry, Sree, you had
I was going to say so many great comments coming in.
Oh,
we want to share them, and everyone, please continue to share your comments. Vikram says, "Hey, Sree and Amar, great that you're doing this. Terrific group of business leaders. Thanks." Pradnya has a great question. What advice do these smart women give to emerging young women entrepreneurs? Som, do you want to start?
Oh, of course. So, first of all, I think, Pranya, that's a very good question, right? So one of the things I'm going to talk about, which has been my lesson, especially if you are young, like, if you're starting off the first time, you're experiencing entrepreneurship for the first time, do not put all your eggs in one basket. Right? I always say this. In today's time, it's very, very important that you have a secondary source of income when you start venturing into entrepreneurship, right? Do not give everything up to get into entrepreneurship because, hey, we know it's high risk. There is rewards. There is great rewards. I'm right here. I can testify for this. But one of the things which is important is to have that alternate source of income, which is very, very, very critical. The second thing is I'm a big believer that tech is an enabler. And Seema was talking about it. Seema and I have collaborated on many initiatives. She's phenomenal. I've seen her, the kind of stuff that she does. And what Chaitra was talking about, that it's important to have the digital part of it where tech is an enabler. But you need to remember one thing. Your customer first approach is very, very essential because that's where you're going to make your money. So be in a business where there is demand, right? And also important that you are able to quickly generate cash for your business. See, you get an investor, that's one part of the journey. You may be lucky, you'll get a great investor because getting an investor is also having a team member on board. They have to be aligned in your vision. So it takes time to have a great investor on board, just like it takes time for an investor to find a great opportunity to fund. So how do you move forward? So have a customer focused approach, which is very, very important. And in today's day and time, I say this, very, very important. If you can build products that you can actually directly sell to customers. The businesses that are booming right now is nutraceuticals, is health, like anything that you do, whether it's tech, whether it's direct to customer fulfillment, it is going to see a huge amount of rise. And that's where a lot of money is. That's where a lot of investment is going to come in. And another thing is, of course, anything to do with digital, whether it is, I'm not going to just talk about e-commerce. India is focused on building its own Trello, its own Zoom, its own video content provider, saying that, hey, TikTok is banned, we're going to build our own TikTok. The opportunity right now is humongous. So I think that's something which I am going to tell you as an entrepreneur. And during this I call it the peri-COVID times, because the times are still not over, that have a secondary source of income, build something that is customer first, easy to acquire customers, easy to acquire resources, and then, of course, think about a great investment opportunity. So that's my 3 cents on the topic.
Great. Anybody else want to jump in? Sushma, do you want to
Sorry,
jump in?
I've been having network issues, so I changed my room now, so hopefully you can hear me better. So what was the question?
So the question is, what advice would you give to these smart women give to emerging young women entrepreneurs?
Oh, okay. I would love to join into that. Some good and some bad. The first thing I would say, be prepared for a very, very hard run. If you are one of those people who don't like failures, then that's not for you. So be prepared for that too. You will have failures in life. Make sure you have a very strong network of friends, not just business, but also family, friends. Absolutely have that. And remember that there are, according to me, no rules to this game. So if you are a person who loves absolute structure and want to do things in a defined way, this is not for you. So if you think you can take on this as a challenge and be prepared that more challenges are going to keep coming, then yes, that's absolutely right for you. You also need to see if you have the aptitude for it. So do an evaluation before you jump into this. And one of the main things to decide is, you have the decision-making skill. Can you make decisions based on analytics, logic, sometimes just gut instinct? And overall, can you have this attitude that I'll make the decision, doesn't matter if it's right or wrong? So if you have all of these things, then I would say this is the right thing for you, and bring in your passion, and do not quit. Just keep doing it. If this doesn't work, change and do something else. Be adapt to the new changes that are thrown at you. So that's the few things that I would like to say.
Fantastic. Anybody else want to jump in?
So, Emma, I have a couple of ideas to share here. As Som talked about, absolutely, you need to take the customer first approach. But there are a couple of things to focus on. If you're a young entrepreneur, focus and concentration is very critical for winning your customer. Knowing your business model and validating that business model with your first 10, 20, 25 customer relentlessly will help you understand that if you have the right customer. Second, your business model, think about as not a project-based, but a recurring revenue model. That means the customer is ready to pay you every month. It's not just a point of sale, because then you have to acquire the customer always. So having a tech solution or a tech business or any service that allows you to do a recurring revenue is important. The third one is the advisor network is very, very critical. Building that network, it takes time. So associate with a community where if you're going to go into fundraising, then find a community where you can actually network with people before even you ask for, whatever the ask is going to be. If it's a funding ask or if it's the customer access, be very clear that you are investing time in that space. And the last one is taking micro actions and micro tweaking on your business rather than going roller coaster ride. So doing micro actions every single day towards the advancement of your business model will help you get your company where you want to go. So don't think overnight success, think about is long-term success for your business.
Sustainable.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Terrific.
Agree.
Emma, if I could just add one thing, I agree with the ladies of what they said. If I want to just reiterate and emphasize the need for a mentor, which a lot of women of our generation, of my generation, did not get exposed to the concept as much. And I date myself in some manner, but what I encourage all young women, women entrepreneurs specifically, what Chaitra said absolutely on the money. Join a community, but extremely urgently try to get proactively a mentor, because that can be a big difference in your growth trajectory. And if I can share one additional, in addition to the fund, we have launched a foundation which we call Achieving Women Enterprise. And what we see is women saying the biggest benefit they get is not just the edification and the learnings that we share, but the fact that they belong to a community and they can find mentors through that community. So I wanted to emphasize that.
No, that's a really good point. And I want to pick up on that because mentorship seems like a critical component. So I want to throw a question out to you as one, how do you find a mentor? Second, what are the qualities you look for? And how do you go through that whole process? Who wants to take that one?
Can I start with something? I mean, I loved what Seema said and what she's doing, but I have to say it is very, very difficult to find a mentor. I have had a hard time with it, and I think mentorship evolves over time. It's very hard if you're looking for a woman mentor, because they themselves are having such a hard time with proving themselves all the time, and there are very few and far between. Men, on the other hand, they are very good mentors, but it's hard to work with them, especially if you are a strong woman. So I think it's quite rare to get a good mentor, but it is an absolute must. So I actually want to hear the others and what they say.
I think I can jump in there. Sushma talked about it in terms of, finding women mentors. To me, mentorship is genderless, just like entrepreneurship is genderless. I know it sounds like, am I talking about something that's not true? Well, I think if you're really good at something, after a point in time, it really doesn't matter what gender you are, and that's what I have experienced. Right? Sometimes, especially when you are in a B2C model, the customer doesn't even know who's behind selling the product. They just know a great quality product. They just resonate with that. They relate to the brand, and that's what matters. But what Sushma said is true. The reason it's hard to find good mentors is because I think people with experience who can actually mentor you don't take that very seriously, right? Because they are not in grooming, teaching is like, quote unquote, professors teaching, all that is like a very skewed profession. But when you're talking about mentorship, it comes with a lot of hands-on, involvement. It comes with a lot of knowledge and practice. But to answer that question specifically, MR, is it easy to find a mentor? No, it's a process. It's a journey. Do you have to find a mentor in your own country? Absolutely not. Like my mentor was from Israel, right? And that's where I think Sree asked a question. I miss the trade shows. While it's great to say that things are moving virtually, but I do miss traveling. I do miss the one-on-one, connections, because they have a huge value, and we cannot deny it. Like right now, actually, we would have been in Vegas because we have the auto show, we have the show for nutraceuticals, we have the show for beauty. So there are a lot of things that happen there. You find great mentors in some of these networking sessions because they come down, you get to spend one-on-one time, and therefore you build a relationship. So for me, I think there are communities which we as women need to kind of focus on. The Women Entrepreneurship Platform, which is an initiative by the government of India, is a great way where they have tried to bring the best of mentors together to actually provide support to both tech and non-tech founders. And like that, I found many such communities across the world, like WEF, the Women Economic Forum, which is a part of the World Economic Forum, also has a great mentor network. The process takes time. It takes time to identify who is aligned to your business, what kind of knowledge, what kind of value they bring to the table. But I think it's a mutual process. It's not just you finding the mentor also have to accept you as their mentee and see that it's valuable for their time. And I also feel no free lunches. Especially in India, I have seen we take the mentors for granted. We expect free time from them, and that's why there is no value that's coming out of it. So it's very important to have a paid mentorship platform. Mentors should believe they're getting a validated, incentivized for their time, because time is money. Especially after COVID, we know how important it is to value that time. So that's my take on mentorship, MR, and how we go about it. Yeah.
Mute.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So my mentors, two of my mentors, Raj, have stake in my company. And that's what I believe. I think the involvement is not possible until there is rewards. Rewards and recognition drives time, drives involvement, drives valuation. I think that's very, very critical. Yes.
All right, let's look at some of the other comments. Pradnya says, these women simply dazzle me. Mihir says, great insights. Thank you, folks. Gwen says, thank you. Pradnya says that mentorship is crucial in any professional path. And Ashish says, great insights. Amazing to hear these stories. And Vijal has a question. What is your favorite website for information and business news updates? Let's just go around the table. Maybe Seema, you want to start? And then we'll go to Sushma and then Chaitra.
So I have a few websites, given that, and somebody asked me this question, our fund is actively investing in India. So our sources of information, the usual, the Economic Times and the New York Times is more for news. But I've started reading your story, and I find that very fascinating because she's doing a great job. So I go to your story, I go to Inc42, Live Mint. Those are my, and then I've started tracking LinkedIn very robustly because I'm finding some nuggets and some very interesting companies through these sources.
Thank you. Sushma, to you.
I basically use Flipboard, and I consolidate all the news that I want from all different sources, so I get it in one place. So that's what I do basically, and it's sometimes the same news put in different perspective, different ways, which I like to read because I don't want just one side of the story. You want both sides, political and business both.
Thank you. Chaitra.
So I do multiple interesting things, Sree. One is I start with the Forbes as my go-to areas to start to look at what people are talking about. Then I go into TED Talks because I'm very fascinated with how people think about a concept and how they are finding a solution for it. And then I do have LinkedIn and Your Story. And then I start to have is Google alerts on me on a specific topic that I want to do. And then I do my own roundtables with my community so I can get like a full perspective of that information. So it allows me to kind of be more holistic about what information I'm looking, so I'm not biased.
Seema, your thoughts?
I
Sorry,
think
sorry. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I have a couple, just like Sushma, I use Flipboard a lot because I think it helps me consolidate. But I do look at CB Insights, which is a great source of information, especially on new ideas and funds. Indeed, I look at Kickstarter a lot because Kickstarter and Indiegogo to me are a great source of finding out what innovation is happening and how crowdfunding is actually supporting some of those innovations beyond just the typical investment. Entrepreneur, again, something I swear by. I think they have amazing insights and news besides, Your Story and Ink42. But Entrepreneur to me is a go-to place for a lot of the information that I look out for. But yeah, I also am on a lot of these platforms to curate information. And even Let's Venture. So they come up with their, insights and views on venture funding, on new ideas, because I participate in a lot of the angel funding too. So yeah, those are my go-to places.
Wonderful. Milind says, wonderful to watch. Great session. Preena, Sony, you would enjoy this. Very relevant, great learning. So everybody who's watching this right now, tag a friend or hit share because this will be on these platforms as soon as we're done. The recording will run on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. And great suggestions from folks, including some of the channels that not everybody uses these days, but great to hear about Your Story and, of course, Flipboard as well. So thank you for that. And let's go back to MR.
Yeah, hey, you didn't ask me for my website, so
Yes.
so there are two websites I go to. One is my own website, which is sandhill.com. Again, a lot of people think I actually work on Sandhill Road, which is the most expensive real estate in the nation and in the world. But actually, I own the URL, which I bought for $20 many years ago. But we do have a user.
That's
I
fantastic.
keep waiting for that bid to come in for $1 million.
Yes.
So, but we do have a weekly newsletter that goes to entrepreneurs. So sandhill.com is one place you might want to go. And the other one, I'm biased as well, is Indiaspora. We do cover all kinds of news, but we also have some business news in that as well. But we have a limited amount of time. So what I want to do now is to kind of go through the toughest challenges you guys have faced. And no particular order, talk to us as a woman going through a very tough challenge in business and how you overcame the challenge, lessons learned, who helped you, all this kind of stuff. It would be really good to get into your minds and see how you operate in a crisis.
Right.
Seema, you want to start us off?
So I will start this one, MR. This is a very interesting question, right? What stops you or what is the biggest hurdle? I think it is going into opportunities or going into a community and you are treated invisible. Like you exist, but nobody acknowledges you. So certainly how do you go from invisible state to a visible state is kind of one of the biggest journey I have seen, right? And that's where the mentorship comes in. And I know everybody talks about mentorship is the hardest thing, but for me, it's actually the easiest thing because it's all about connecting with people and connecting. So the way, if you know how to connect with people, so when you're entering into a community or you're entering into an opportunity with a customer, or you are going into a new place, always have somebody who is, you can have this conversation. So when you enter, everybody can recognize, so you're a visible entity. And second is focus on contribution. Really come in with a mindset is not to take, to give. And by doing that, go from an invisible state to a visible state, and you become assimilated in your communities, in your organization. So that's the one. It's not being recognized or not being seen, and how do you become visible through contribution and connection? So that would be my way of addressing the challenge, and how do I make that as an opportunity?
Right.
MR, I can go next. I'm going to share this because it's the Indiaspora, and we're talking about women entrepreneurs and women investors coming out of the Indian community. I think the biggest challenge we face is the challenges and the roadblocks from the family itself. Like, I think it's high time we have to be okay with a doctor's child not becoming a doctor, a lawyer's child not becoming a lawyer, and you don't have to be an engineer to be an entrepreneur. I think those are some of the challenges which I think we need to really tackle. And why do I say this? It was very, very hard. And I think I'm lucky because my parents did support me at a later stage. But I know I've met a lot of women entrepreneurs or aspiring women entrepreneurs who say work-life, family balance and balancing and convincing the family that I can do this is a huge challenge in itself, especially in the Indian community. That is one, right? We're not very encouraging towards our women. We do not think that they can go out there and conquer it and make it happen. The second thing, which is I think is very, very crucial, and that's why people like Seema are angels to us, is that the kind of solidarity that is to be shown to women in business is still lacking. The kind of ecosystem that is required to make women in business successful is still lacking, and we should take up the mantle. There should be more women-focused funds that should go out and celebrate them and support them and make them feel that, yes, there is hope and there is support that is available to them. That is very, very important. I think that is something that can solve a lot of challenges that women, especially in business, are facing today. The third thing, which I have faced personally, is that I'm a non-tech person, MR. I'm not an engineer. I'm an economist. But I started a tech company, and I started an ad tech company in 2013. It was so hard to get a good CTO. So hard, because so hard to convince someone that you can build a tech business, you get it, and you want a good support system from someone with experience. The first question is, where do you have the money? How will you support? How will you pay for it? Stake is not always very exciting alone, because of course everybody has commitment. And to convince my CTO, to get my first CTO to work with me on my vision was a huge challenge. And when I was able to overcome that hurdle, and what I did was I went into a lot of these, networking, whether it's Upwork or FreeUp. I actually got my first CTO who was remote to work with me completely remotely, because I couldn't find someone in India. Nobody believed that, a woman alone founder can run a business and make it successful. I think those stereotypes, the family barriers, and then comes money. I think those are some of the challenges that women face, because they're like, how will I fund myself? How will I get the money? And I'm saying this, I sold my jewelry. And I'm also saying this, if you're very young, you don't have experience, don't start up. Take your time, get some experience, work somewhere, have some savings, have a secondary source of income. Because you should not jump in with half your heart and half your mind, because that cannot lead to a good and successful business. So those are some of the things that I want to talk about. And I think as a diaspora, we should work towards encouraging and breaking some of these stereotypes.
Great. Who wants to go next?
I can do it. I completely agree with Som. I would have said that verbatim, but I completely agree. Family is an issue, raising money is an issue, finding the right skill set, all of that. And she's already talked about it, so I won't repeat. But one of the other big issues that I have found is, as a sole entrepreneur, there are so many highs and there are so many lows. And so there are extreme emotions, and actually the whole journey, there are more lows than highs, and you have to deal with that. You need to become so strong that you need to deal with those issues. And there is, according to me, nothing personal and business. It's all the same. We are people, we are humans. Business, personal, everything is the same. So if something is off at home or family, it affects your business too. So I did develop a technique of dealing with the lows, is I give it an actual active time limit, or whatever it is, that I cannot stay in this mode or this mood for longer than 30 minutes. And if it's something big, 24 hours or 2 days. So that has now worked for me. and it helps me move on much faster and just keep looking ahead instead of looking back. So apart from all the other issues which Som mentioned and Chaitra mentioned, I would add this to the list too.
Great. Thank you. And last but not least, Seema.
Well, I'll say it in the context of our fund. I think it's, and I wouldn't have ever acknowledged it or stated it 10 years ago, but it is lack of equity for women. And I think that kind of encapsulates everything that's been said. I'm not talking about equality, I'm talking about equity. And ultimately, it manifests itself in multiple different forms, some of which the three ladies before me spoke of. I just want to add one other symptom of that lack of equity, which our famous philosopher of this century has said, Taylor Swift, that if she's tired of running as fast as she can, and if she was a man, things would be different. I think it's taken me a while, but I have finally recognized that there are multiple manifestations of lack of equity, whether it be even as an investor. If I'm looking at a company and I'm not saying me, but investors saying, should we put a cap on her ambition? Should she be able to pull it off? Everything Som talked about and everything Sushma talked about. So it comes down to what we've been trying to do, which is achieving women equity.
Great.
Spot on, Seema.
Yeah, it's a great point to make. Sree, you've been listening in patiently. Do you have any questions for these ladies? I mean, this is amazing because we have 4 powerful women, all Indiaspora members, and I'm so proud of this group. And so do you have any questions for them?
Well, I would just first of all say I'm in awe of all of them. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your journey with us. We've all learned so much, and the audience is constantly talking about that. We've had people asking about keeping in touch and connecting. And so let's give a plug to Indiaspora. And how do you join MR? And how do people then connect with each other once they're members?
I think, like I said, we're a membership invitation-only organization. So there's a whole process that you can go through with our team. But the members are all very connected. They know each other. And so we kind of form our own kind of self-help group in that sense. But individually, I'm sure we can contact these 4 great ladies here as well, right? So I'm sure you have the Twitter handles and such. So that's an easy way, Sree. No?
Yeah, I think that's great. Let me ask Som about being in India right now. Do you see a change because of COVID on the positive side for paying attention to the kind of startup opportunities that are there?
Sree, absolutely. You won't believe I've seen that people have become so much more open now, because it's like, it's like when you have a situation like this, an adversity like this, I think there is always so many opportunities. I now see so many people doing that's what I'm saying, that, entrepreneurship is an attitude. There are women in our area who are actually have started up small businesses from their homes because they're trying to make the best use of their time. And I see a lot of investors opening up because they are taking a lot more time. They have a lot more time at hand because they're not traveling so much. So they have become more open to doing one-on-one sessions, getting to know you, wanting to know what you're doing with your business. Especially I've seen in health as a domain, in nutraceuticals as a domain, there are a lot of investments that has happened. So I think it's a great opportunity. India, I've seen a lot of positive changes, Sree. So yes, I think there's going to be a lot of new things going to happen. And with the ban, Sree, as you're aware, that with the ban on the Chinese, apps, India started their whole Atmanirbhar initiative, where the government of India said that they're going to support and fund great ideas, which will replace some of these technologies that we were looking outward for. And there are so many new companies that have come forward, submitted their ideas, have won those challenges, and have got over $500,000 in funding to just give wings to their ideas. So yes, good positive changes of Atmanirbhar Bharat, local to vocal to global.
Okay.
Well, we're past the hour, and I know, we have to stop. We could go on for a while, but a couple of things. One, if you want to stay in touch with Indiaspora, just go to our website and subscribe to our newsletter. we, like I said, have a partnership with Sree. Once a month, we'll be bringing interesting programming here. So feel free to subscribe to the newsletter. That way we can keep you in the loop on these things. Like I said, we'll have many interesting shows coming up, and you can go. We have a blog as well on our site, and like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on LinkedIn. It's all Indiaspora. At any site you go, it's just the word Indiaspora. With that, I want to close the show by asking each one of the four amazing Indiaspora members who are with us. And I have to tell you something. I'm from the tech industry originally, and it's always been 99% men, any place I go to. And this is such a refreshing breath of fresh air to see four super women on the show. And I really want to thank you, but I want you, each one of you, to give some final thoughts, just in 15 to 30 seconds, some advice for a young, aspiring woman who wants to become an entrepreneur. Seema?
Yeah, persistence, network, and go get them.
Okay, great. Sushma?
Well, I'll do it in 5 seconds. I think just embrace who you are. Be your weird self, crazy self. Trust who you are and be who you are. And that's enough.
Great. Chaitra?
Yes, so show up as an influencer by serving, influencing your community and people around you, and partner with global companies to really make a difference, because the time is right now here, so each one of us can make a difference.
Great. Som?
So I say for all the aspiring women entrepreneurs, passion and prudence go hand in hand. It's very, very important to be passionate about what you want to start, but you've got to be prudent about the resources that you have, whether it's in the people, whether it's the money, whether it's the market, the demand that you have. That is very, very essential. So passion and prudence, I think, goes hand in hand, and that's the key essence of being a successful entrepreneur.
Fabulous. I want to thank the four of you extremely a lot. This is probably one of the best shows that's energized me personally, and I hope the audience got a taste of that. And I'm going to let Sree close the show. Thank you, Sree, for having us.
Thank you, MR. And we're so glad that every month Indiaspora will bring us a great episode like this. If you're joining us for the first time on this show, we are on every single day through the pandemic, 168 episodes in a row, and we'll continue to do this. We cover all aspects, the business aspects, as well as the healthcare and inequality aspects of this crisis. You can check out all our archives at youtube.com/Sreenet. And thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you to these amazing speakers. We've all learned so much. Hope you'll follow them on Twitter and connect with them on LinkedIn as well. So we'll restart the program right here as soon as we're off the air. So please share this with your friends and family around the world. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks.